Hi everyone! Today I'll be reviewing the 1/7 scale figure of Triomphant by Aruta. This was announced over 3 years ago now, and I remember being really excited at the time since Triomphant is my favourite Azur Lane character. She never did receive a single outfit or anything of the sort. I know now that Yugen was actually working for Key after that, so that's why she's never really received anything. I never thought that she would get a figure. I was really surprised when she did, let alone something by Aruta. That was really exciting for me. I love Yugen's art, and this was the one ship that he drew for Azur Lane. After that, he ended up working for my favourite company, Key, and he's now working on Heaven Burns Red. I don't know if we'll ever see anything apart from that from him for a long while. He did say so himself that he's just got no time. I'm beyond happy that it was her that got a figure. The front of the box has Triomphant written on the front there. The sculptor is Munetoshi Makio. We also have the people that rigged the model along with the people that painted her. There's also the Aruta logo along with the Iris logo. On the side of the box, we have again the same information that was on the front and a very Azur Lane style box with all of the little motifs that remind you of the game. We actually have a small silhouette of the figure herself there as well. On the back we have the Azur Lane logo along with Triomphant 1/7 scale painted figure, and also her lines that she says when you obtain her. And the other side of the box has Triomphant written there again, and this time we actually have a photo of the figure herself. Here is Triomphant in her packaging, and she looks amazing already. I'm really looking forward to seeing her outside of the blister. I'm very pleased that she's finally here. She did have a delay once or twice, but she looks really good even just from inside the packaging, so I think she was definitely worth the wait. So there's also some instructions about Fuzokparts, which is just all of her various parts that come with the figure and how to display her. This is the Toritsuke Imeji. I'm very impressed with the packaging. Everything has its own separate compartment and it's all very tightly packed together, so I think there's very little chance that she'll come damaged. Here she is put together without any of her accessories, just the skirt and also the sword. I will go into more detail on the figure itself in just a moment, but I just wanted to talk about how she looks without anything on. Making figures of Yugen's art in particular is very difficult since there are many different shades of all sorts of colours, not just in the clothing but even the hair I think is quite prominent with him. I think his work is quite hard to translate well into 3D, not just the shapes and the form of the character but also just the colour in particular with him. I think his work really stands out for that reason. They've done such a good job at including so many different shades of every single colour that he used. Just the skirt on its own, it looks fantastic underneath. The base is rather large, obviously to accommodate all of the things that she does have, but it is very regal looking, does suit her very well. I like that it doesn't really take away too much from the figure, and it does have her name at the front as well. And the skirt in particular, this is really interesting. So this is similar to a cast off in that it just comes off. You can display her without the skirt if you'd like, and she does look really nice without the skirt even as well. But the skirt really easily just comes off with a few pegs on each side, and it's slightly flexible so that it just comes on and off almost like doll clothes. Here is Triomphant put together with all of her equipment and her cape, and I have to say it was quite an ordeal putting her together. She's quite fiddly, and also the cape in particular. There are pegs in the base that the cape then fits into. These poles as well that they include, these plastic poles, they can be adjusted, so you can pull it out a little bit to make it taller, which I found I had to do since they were way too short, and they seem to be okay. They do fall over every so often, but they seem to do the job. Taking a look at her face, there is nothing more that I can say about this apart from the fact that this is spot on, completely replicated Yugen's work here. Yugen's very famous for all of the different colours that he uses, and the eyes have completely replicated that. The hair as well, it's not just blonde. They've included all of the brown shades that Yugen usually uses when he draws blonde characters. The front of the hair is slightly translucent, so it's nice when it catches the light and you can really almost see through those two front strands of hair. And there's also a slight white highlight shaded in at the front there as well, so it really gives off that painted look that Yugen tends to draw in. The little jewels and the red and blue markings on the sides there as well is also translucent, so the top of her crown there, for example, when this catches the light it looks really nice. And the blue parts, just these blue translucent parts on the side of her hair, when the light goes through it reflects back onto her hair, which looks quite nice. It's just lovely to see Yugen's work, especially Triomphant in particular, made into a figure by Aruta of all companies. I'm very pleased with how she looks, especially the face. I think they've done that really well. You can see her eyebrows just underneath as well. And the buns, they look like roses, which I really like. Again, they've been sculpted really nicely. There's some slight brown shading on the top of her head, along with just underneath the buns and behind her ears. And the back of her hair is nice and simple. It's nice to see Yugen's line work really represented well. The way he draws hair is quite nice, and just the shading overall is really lovely. Apart from the figure itself, the cape is the largest piece that she comes with, and this looks amazing. I'm really impressed with this. In Azur Lane, my favourite ships are the French ships. Triomphant was always my favourite, but I just really love the red, white and blue motifs that a lot of them have, and Yugen in particular made really good use of these colours for Triomphant's design, and the gold trimming looks lovely as well. Every single tiny detail is painted perfectly. There's not a single mishap anywhere. It's to be expected of Aruta. The little pocket watch that she has hanging from the front, this looks amazing. This is incredibly detailed, and the ribbon that goes across as well. The colours that they've chosen to replicate this illustration are perfect. And also the inside as well, so the lining of the cape has this lovely design that's very regal. Going along with the gold trimming, we also have her crown on top of her head as well. This has the two gems on top, and just all over has tiny little details that are imprinted onto the front. Moving on to her actual ship details, her shield and also her rapier. These look amazing. I'm very glad that I went for this version. I think she looks really complete, and I just love the red, blue, white and gold colour scheme that she has. Painting itself, everything's done slightly metallic, so it's got a slight sheen to it. Everything is really detailed, even down to the tiniest little markings. Again, the gold trimming and also the same symbol that can be seen on the inside of her cape is on her shield. She has two arm parts. One of them is just her arm holding nothing, and the other one is this one, which is attached to the shield, so you don't have to attach the shield yourself. It's already attached to this hand piece. This shield is supported by a plastic pole. You don't have to necessarily use it if you don't want to, but I would recommend it just since it holds it up a little bit more, and it also stops the shield from making direct contact with the skirt. It's been made to look very realistic. Everything is really accurate right down to the smallest of details, and the paint job is lovely. This side, this is attached from her back. It can be a bit fiddly, but it should stay once the pole is supporting it from underneath. And also this moves as well, so you can turn it depending on how you'd like it to be angled, but it moves from various points too, so it's not just one piece that moves. The whole arm moves at about 3 different places. Her rapier is very easy to insert into her hand. She just has a clear plastic pole. When she originally comes in the box, she comes holding this sort of plastic pole thing to keep her hand open, I think. So then you can just remove that. Handle and the actual sword parts are separate. The handle just slots in on its own, and then the actual sword part just slots in between. Moving on to her clothes, so her leotard and her skirt. The skirt is removable since you do need to remove it to actually put the figure together and take the plastic off and things like that. The leotard underneath actually is sculpted really well. Aruta did a very good job there, so I definitely recommend displaying her without the skirt if you prefer. And just the leotard itself, it's slightly see-through, which I think is very realistic, and just the shading at the creases there. It's really, really nice. I like that you can only see those lines at a certain point. I think that's been designed really well. I'm really impressed with the skirt. I think this is one of my most favourite pieces of this figure. The colours underneath are a mixture of white, pink, purple and blue, and it's all done with a very glittery metallic finish paint. I'm just very impressed with their colour scheme choices, and the actual front of the skirt, so the blue fabric, that also has a very slight metallic finish to it too and matches the ruffles of the skirt quite nicely. The actual frills of the skirt have been sculpted incredibly well, and the shape of the skirt really looks exactly the same as the illustration. Really, it comes up a little bit at the front so you can see underneath. If you displayed her on a slightly higher shelf, it might be nice. As for her stockings, they have red ribbon around the top along with the same frills that the skirt has, and then similarly to her leotard they have those lines going down and they really match the rest of the outfit very well. The shoes have been painted with a slightly shiny paint. I'd say it's just as shiny as the gold that they've used on the armour and also her cape as well, and they just have the red heels at the back there. Overall, that concludes my review of Le Triomphant from Azur Lane. Again, this was by Aruta, and I'm beyond impressed with this figure. I already knew that she would be wonderful. I highly believe that this was worth the wait. This was announced over 3 years ago now, and I've been patiently waiting for her to finally release. I'm still in shock that she, out of all of the other ships in the game, managed to get a figure by Aruta. And just designed by Yugen as well, I think is very nice to see. Especially now that he's so closely tied with Ki, I feel even more glad that I have this figure in my collection. Just the colour scheme in particular, I think they really, really did a wonderful job on replicating the colours that Yugen is so well known for using. Like I said, there are 2 versions of this figure, so if you're not interested in all of the extra parts actually from the warship, then you can purchase just the figure that has just her, and I believe it comes with the rapier as well, but not the shield and all of the other bits and pieces. And I'm very pleased that she's finally out, so this was definitely worth the wait. If you are a fan of any of the French ships in Azur Lane, then I cannot recommend her more. It's wonderful that Aruta were the ones to make this figure. She is definitely worth the money. Thank you very much for watching until the end of the review, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!